human resource professional with a demonstrated history of working in the consulting, information technology, and services industry. She is skilled in talent management, organization development, employee engagement, leadership development, POSH, and IND. Sarika is a strong consulting professional with a PGDM in HR and finance. And in fact, in the discussion that I had with Sarika earlier, um, she is got in-depth knowledge, but is very, very down to earth, which is really good to see. And that's how I would personally describe Sarika as a person. So, Sarika, welcome to the conference and to this session. It's really good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Zubin. Very humbling to hear.
And okay, yeah, I mean, I just say what's in my mind. So I'm being honest. And I'll introduce Sushmita now. Sushmita Choudhury. She is head talent OD and L&D in Richard Industrial Group. She has 17 years of experience as business HR and regional head HR in varied and challenging assignments held in Indian, American, and European organizations. And she's got industry exposure with heavy engineering, paper, oil and gas, and petrochemicals industries. And her expertise areas are driving developmental assessment center, L&D, talent assessment and development, organization development, performance management, employee engagement, comp and benefits, rewards management, and HR analytics. So an all-round HR professional, I would say. Sushmita, welcome to the conference and the session.
Thank you, Zubin.
So we've had really nice 4 sessions, wonderful, lots of insights, many questions asked and answered. And we tried taking the relevant questions. We've also taken some questions which were not relevant to the session. However, they were relevant to some aspect of L&D, and therefore we've taken some of those questions as well. I hope we've been able to take most of the questions. I have actually kept one question which was asked in the previous session. I've kept it for this session, which I will ask a little later. So let me start with Sushmita with our session now. So Sushmita, the question is, how does learning play a role in career growth of any individual? And how does this apply in leadership development as well? So there are two parts to the question. So in general, does learning play a role in career growth? And therefore the link created with the career trajectory. And second is, what about this applying in leadership development? What has been your experience? Sushmita, over to you.
Thanks, Zubin. Thank you so much. Coming to learning, yeah, learning is it's an everyday course, and coming to the different stages of career development, right from the growth stage to how an individual is getting integrated into the system. If I have to start from the gamut of HR functions, from onboarding to the deployment stages. So in every stage of growth within the organization, there is learning involved. So definitely learning takes an edge from the times of the way the person is oriented towards the culture of the organization, the technicalities for which the person has been onboarded, and how the person, the incumbent, gets established in the system. So that's how learning is definitely bringing an edge in the career development, and slowly moving on to the aspiration levels, or maybe to the individuals or to the young managers who would be aspiring, or who are the talents identified for the next level, for the higher positions. Learning starts evolving in a manner that in a manner, in such a manner that it takes into the roles of how every leader, or how every leader would get into a kind of different interventions, would have different job orientations, or would have different skill set requirements. So based on that, definitely learning becomes an everyday affair, and it's more or less like learning and then leadership, it starts getting it's very much related, and they become indispensable to each other. So learning does play a very important role in the career development of every individual. And when it comes to leadership development, it's not only in terms of the ones who are the identified lead potentials within the company, or it is not only in terms of who are the maybe there have been some latent employees whose skill sets have been identified, and we find that they can be groomed, or they can be developed or coached for the next level positions. But at the same time, learning gets embedded in the system in such a manner that it can be in a cross-functional ways. It can be because of the advancement or the emerging trends that's coming up. So based on these aspects, definitely the leadership development programs also gets modulated, or you can say that the composition of the complete learning and the deliveries, what is expected. Based on that, the learning programs for the leadership development also gets that trajectory. So this is how I would say, from a theoretical point of approach, that learning does have a very important or a pivotal role to play for an individual career, or for the growth development of individuals within the organization. From my personal take, or from my professional experience, I would say that yes, during the course of when we had the HR processes, where we were trying to identify the early succession plans, wherein they had been not only the potentials we were trying to identify for the as a future managers, or the future leaders, or building the pool of talents within the company for the next roles, but at the same time also understanding that what is the main skill set, and where the person can be, where the incumbent feels very energized, and it would be the right fit for the position. So from that aspect also, learning plays a very important role functionally, to understand the various aspects of how the leadership development can be identified. I will not say identified, because it's already identified and then taken for the course of action. So that becomes predominantly very important, so that a kind of the learning needs get mapped to the individual, and as well as to the functional requirements of the company. So yes, during the kinds of the succession phases, also when we were trying to identify the potentials, the high potentials, those who are there in the company, and there may be some kind of, suppose there is a new entry in the business, or maybe there would be a new product line. So which are the skill sets, or which are the required kind of people, the right fit people, who can be also associated for these kind of programs, the development programs. So there has been number of initiatives, there has been number of process areas where these learning programs have been integrated very well into the system. And yeah, that is one. And another important also, I would say, from a professional experience, that has been into the lean learning program, because I have been more into the manufacturing setup, where I've been taking care of the L&D programs, and identifying the competency, the capabilities in the system. So it has been more also taking care of into the lean learnings, where we understand the kind of improvement areas that is required from the outcomes of these programs, and in case there are some kind of waste, which is always a kind of main target to understand which are the wastes coming up, and we take a call on that. So these are a few areas on succession. Coming to the second part of your question, the succession area, the lean method of learning, these would be my take on the professional side.
So, Sushmita, just one question I wanted to ask you. So, in terms of,
Yes.
in say in your organization or in your past experience, how has been the experience for you in creating this link between career and learning? I mean, officially, when an organization formally wants to incorporate this, they definitely would put a process in place. So, have you been able to do that? And also, if you can think about leadership development, because these are two different dynamics. So, when you're dealing with the lower levels in the hierarchy versus the highest levels in the hierarchy, probably the approach could be different, but that link between learning and career, how can you think about any very specific example of how it worked for you, or you think that organizations are actually facing challenges in creating the link?
Okay. Uh, to the experience that we had, that I also taken care of, it was mainly on the basis of the kind of responsibility levels that is within the organization design, and based on that you have the different the general kind of I would say the general kind of interventions that is required across all the levels. This is number one. Second, there are specific competency related requirements which gets identified based on the competency model of that organization, and depending on the managerial capabilities that is required as part of the the general work profile, that is how across all the levels these technical programs, that these were always mapped. And definitely, and the other sides, when it comes to the software aspects or to the the general management skills, that was depending on the different responsibility levels that is within the organization, and what is expected out of that responsibility level and the job profile that is assigned to it. So it was very systemized. The process was very systemized. Definitely, when this mapping the learning needs to the different profiles came up, and this process design was very much in place, because this was how the learning needs were derived also. So the needs and these identifying these learning needs were mainly done from this process aspect. And this is one in a very holistic way that the process was followed, if that answers your question.
All right, yeah, sure. Thanks, Sushmita. So
Yeah.
I'll move on to Sarika now. Sushmita talked about some examples, even from the perspective of leadership development. So the question that I would like to come to you with would be in terms of career growth through learning opportunities. We do here we talk about L&D professionals as a function. We support career growth through learning opportunities. Uh, but from your experience in your present organization or past organization, linking learning to roles and supporting employees to be future ready. So, can you think about something that you've been involved in which was successful when you're able to link learning to roles and growth and taking up higher responsibilities?
Good question. And thank you once again for inviting both of us to the L&D conference. But before coming to the linkage of learning to the role, I just want to give a context of how learning has become a necessity now and no more a luxury. More so during the pandemic and last year, the way the entire L&D landscape has changed. And I come from an IT organization which has 1,90,000 workforce. So the first day when we got an announcement that 99% of our workers will work remote, work from home, how do we keep the L&D engine pumping and really make it successful? And it should be business as usual. And that's where we not only focused on learning for the entire diversified workforce, we are present in 63 countries. Just giving you some statistics, just to understand the humongous challenge we had in front of us and the different roles we have. So the essence of learning is it has to be continuous. And with the way the technologies are changing, with the way the emerging trends are coming in, the disruptions are happening in the market, the rapid changes customers are expecting from us. So learning is here to stay, and learning has really become a critical function across the board. And the impetus and the imperative is coming from the CEO. Coming to the pivotal roles and the role wise how we have linked learning, there has been in the past a straight-jacketed career path. With the advent of technology, technology being ambient, and with the gig workers and the open innovation and open source changing, learning is no more, or career paths are no more straight-jacketed. It is ambiguous, it is flux. Each individual is evolving his or her own career path. But stating that, we still have 70% of the workforce who grows through a vertical or a lateral or diagonal career path. So we have divided our organization, like you talked about, Zubin, the entire talent strata into three. The first one is the individual contributors. The second one is the middle management, which is the typical middle muddle we call, sandwiched between the top management and the individual contributors. And then we have the leadership team. So for each of the career grades we not only focus on the hard skills, but we also focus on the soft skills. And this has made it happen more so during the new normal, where actually 90% of the organizations always focus on the hard skills, which are the technical, domain, techno-functional skills. But more and more, we were cognizant about, and we came to know the importance of the soft skills, not only at a leadership level. So often used words in the last 15 months is resilience, bouncing back, empathy, humility. Leaders should display the sensitivity because all of us are working from home. Coming to the middle management, the soft skills were how do we nurture people? How do we sit at home but we ensure that we execute well? How do we constantly communicate with our span of control and with our team members below? And coming to the individual contributors, how do we keep them future ready? If customers want this kind of a skill set, so we have moved from a single skill set to a multi skill set. How do we really keep them future skills ready? And for that, we have an alliance with NASCOM, where our employees can go to their site and do a lot of courses. Before, what was happening? I am a Java developer. I will continue to get my certifications only on Java. But right now we are telling them Java is your basic. Can you do something in cloud? Can you do in automation? Can you do in digital? And for us, digital has become an impetus across the talent strata. The journey we have been taking for the last 6 to 7 years on digital, each and every person should understand it's not only that you need to be digital savvy, but you really need to be digital literate. So the pivotal roles what we have, like say we start with a developer, then we move to a project manager, then we move to a delivery manager, then we move to a delivery head, and the chain continues. For each of them, we have a complete framework which reinforces which ensures that they not only get the technical competence, but they also get the softer skills. A combination of both really makes them holistic. So that's how we do in our current organization.
Right. So let me take a few questions because I think I see some really interesting questions in the Q&A box. So first of all, I will take a question which was asked in a previous session. This was from Praveen Sathe. So he asks, business believes that a single intervention or a single training program will do wonders. But it doesn't work like that and needs immersion over a period of time. So how does L&D tackle this expectation delivery mismatch? So I think let me also try to reframe this a little bit. So um, there is a learning strategy. There are say we create the link between the business goals and L&D goals. We do all that, but then we do have these ad hoc requests coming up time and again. I'm sure you must be facing these kind of ad hoc requests coming to you. So that is where there are these expectations that okay, we send these people into this training and problem will be solved. So this kind of an expectation would definitely be there in people. So how do you tackle this mismatch? What would be the process that you would follow? What kind of communication would you be doing with such stakeholders who make those requests?
So you want me to go,
Yes, Sarika,
Zubin?
please go ahead, and then I'll ask the next question to both of you. But let's start with you.
So, very good question by Praveen, actually, Zubin. And this is what we also face in our regular day to day work. And what we have been trying to do, and we have started it, is we are moving from episodal learning to learning in the flow of work. What do I mean by that? I mean that as we have to continue to learn, unlearn, relearn till we go to our happy hunting grounds, how do we ensure that this one off program, which we were bringing people to the classroom, actually doesn't satisfy or doesn't give them the holistic learning? So, in the journey based approach, which is about 5 to 6 months, if we have to make a person a communication specialist, because the first interaction the person in our organization has is with an external customer, will one program communication really satisfy the needs? My answer is not. How do we really catch them, bring that stickiness, that glue, and ensure that besides the communication, can he attend a presentation skills? Can he attend a online business English course which sharpens his grammar and diction, accent neutralization, the entire bucket of communication to really make him future ready? That's the process which we are doing for all our programs and for all our focused areas which we have, be it communication, be it customer, be it diversity, be it the MBA hires which we bring in, or be it the engineering hires which we bring in large numbers. How do we really hold them and really take them to a journey of 4 to 6 months? So that has been our approach in holding them.
Okay, great. And I'll ask the same question to Sushmita, maybe kind of formatted in a different way. So, Sushmita, how have you faced such ad hoc requests? Do you still get these ad hoc requests? Uh, Training, please solve our problem, kind of situation. And how do you deal with it? How do you communicate with the stakeholders who make such requests?
Oh yes, I mean these kind of requests are always coming up, but in our kind of industry, it's much more easier to tackle, I would say, mainly because the fact being, of course, we do not have the hirings huge in number as per the kind of young people those are involved, because it's once in a year and it's hardly around 15 to 20, so it's not that huge in number. And the other part is that we do get such kind of requests, but it's easier to modulate in a manner, saying that how, because of the kind of specialized work or the requirements that we mainly get into, because we are from an EPC background, and it's mainly on the technical skills, the technicalities that every person or every stakeholder would be actually concerned with. And that is how it is much more easier to say that we would get onto the softer side of the requirements or the training programs or the other interventions. It would be there, but the technical skills, I think it takes care of 80% of the requirement. So this is one part of it. Coming to the soft skill requirement, in case, suppose I take the cue from Sarika itself, where in case it is about communication, definitely one day class or a full day program is never sufficient for any young engineer to actually cultivate that skill. It's never there. So what we do is we try to plug in few of the areas where the person is definitely interacting with customers. Definitely it's there, because the way the customer orientation takes place. So that is one part of it. There are regular visits or to the site deputation. When our engineers, they go to the site deputation, how are they interacting, how are they making the projects, how are they aggressively communicating, or how are they trying to understand the business requirements. So that those are the, you can say it's a more of a peer-to-peer coaching. At times it happens, and at few times it also happens that it is more on the job related. So that's where these finer points gets noticed, observed. And in case, most of the case, it's not in case, most of the case, there are some areas, some gray areas which gets identified. So that is how this regular course of addressing that what needs to be done, how could have been what could have been improved, or what could have been handled better. So these regular communication with the different project managers or the other stakeholders who are actually involved, either in mentoring the newcomers or involved in hand holding them, this is how these plug-in methods it has helped in our kind of organization. It has does helped, but never a kind of thing that any request comes up and we are not able to keep up to that. But definitely these small interim approaches has helped.
Right. So I'll take up another question now. This comes from Manjeet Mohan. So his question is: learning by choice or by force as an organizational mandate, which has a larger play when it's linked to employee growth or career growth in an organization. So, I mean, this is a, I don't know if it's a tricky situation, but this comes up, right? So you have an organizational mandate of learning versus learning by choice. So which works better, or what are your views on that in terms of employee growth or career growth? So again, I'll first go to Sarika, and then I'll come to Sushmita with a question again.
So, Manjit, very good question. And yesterday, Zubin, I was in an external session conducted by Think Talent Consulting, where the topic was on continuous learning. And this is what I had actually shared on the push versus pull factor. And it's there in the YouTube also. So you people can go and watch it along with another panelist. Like today, I have Sushmita with me. So, and this is a very classic example I want to show and tell you that even though organization has mandated learning for different roles across the talent strata, but now with the way the generational workforce are coming into the organization, you cannot always have the push strategy. There has to be a pull strategy for the employee. Me as an employee, my question is what's in it for me, WIIFM, if I have to go through these modules. Classic example I will give that the chairman's mandate was that we have to do 6 e-COVID modules, not only on the soft skills, but also on the etiquettes of working from home. What are the rules and regulations that needs to be applied? How can managers display empathy? How can we be positive during these trying times? And we hosted these 6 modules in our learning management system. Believe me, 3 quarters down the line, when we did our tracking, there were 1,25,000 people who have completed these courses. Did we push them? Our answer was no. We did an employee communication for people to know that we have come out with these modules, and this is the right time for you to encash it, to understand yourself, to remain current. So that means people found value in those learnings. They went into the LMS and they have done it. So we need to ensure also that we were bringing people to the classroom. Now from instructor-led training, we have moved to virtual instructor-led training. From there, we have moved to this kind of webinars. And thanks to Zubin and many others who are doing this for the community, for the mankind. Then we have moved to micro-learning bites. Then we have moved to gamification and simulation to make it more interesting and do self-learning a lot more. Like I was going to present to a group of youngsters who had joined us on what is empathy all about and how do you display your self-confidence and assertiveness because now you have moved from campus to corporate. And just to take down a few points, I knew that my team had done these modules. I went to the modules myself and picked up a few points to share it. And that's called as the instant learning, actually, irrespective of the experience and the age or the role you are in. I think, Zubin, it is all about voluntary now. People have understood why learning is important. If they don't learn, they become redundant. And just to leave a tagline, change is the only constant. So we all need to be relevant, irrespective of which stage in the career and experience we are.
Thank you, Sarika. That's wonderfully answered, actually. So, Sushmita, I hope the connection is okay now. I think we got disconnected for a while.
Yeah, I got disconnected. Sorry.
Right. So, getting back to the question that we were trying to answer together, so which Manjeet asked. So, what are your views on this overall in terms of learning by choice or learning by force?
Sarika has beautifully captured the relevant points. I have nothing much to say about it, but yes, definitely that, and nowadays every individual is aware that what is the required or what is the need or what do I need or how do I take myself further. So I think it is very much depending on what is the self need or how would I take it from this level to the next level. It is voluntary in nature, definitely. And it's there, but like again I will come back to our kind of industry. There are a lot of mandates that needs to be there, otherwise the kind of these mapping of these programs doesn't happen. So yes, it becomes a mixed bag with the mandates or the kind of goals that are assigned to individuals or to the different responsibility levels, and depending on that, and then you're also given a choice saying that in within a frame of 2 to 3 or a bucket list which is made available to them with the catalog of programs, what exactly would be in. And in case there are some kind of requirements which comes in saying that we would be interested into more into the data science, or we would be interested into some more other technologies. So that's where we do take in the request and we try to accommodate depending on the kind of needs or the aspiration level that an individual talks about. Otherwise, it's a mandate, definitely. And then later on, we try to understand what an individual is looking for. Because at the end of the day, we tend to respect, and also we appreciate if employees by themselves they start letting us know that this is the area or these are the even technical applications that we would like to get trained on or a hands-on experience. So we do accommodate these requests and we appreciate that.
All
So
right,
I
great.
just want to give
Yes,
examples
Sarika.
again over here, just to close it, what Sushmita said.
Right.
I missed it while sharing. So we have a marquee program called as the First Time Manager Program for our people who are moving from an individual contributor and becoming the first time manager. It has been running for the last 18 months, and we have about 1,000 people who get certified in this program after a platform based journey of 6 months. The interesting thing is, when we started with the batches, we used to go to the unit HRs and their managers to get in the nominations. What we have seen in the last 7, 8 months, because the program has really set the fabric and the way people are talking about it, this time when we are starting the batch in another week's time, 15th of March, we already have 3,000 nominations in our mailbox. Self nomination. And that's what I'm linking it to, the pull versus push learning. And I saw Naveen's question over here. Until and unless we show them the purpose of learning, we create that what's in it for me, and they derive the value, learning just goes under the carpet. The moment as an L&D function or the organization can show that, I think people will just come and learn because it's for them. We are just a conduit who are just supporting the enablers, the champions, the evangelist, or the orchestrator. So just thought I'll give you that example.
In fact, related to what you just said, Sarika and also Sushmita, Manjeet has come up with another question. So the, the what's in it for me for an employee? How is it defined and communicated to employees in your organization? That's, I think, it's a simple, straightforward question. But let's see what you have in mind. So, would you like to go first, Sarika?
I will. So Manjit, again over here, exactly what I was sharing the example of FTM, like that if you have, say, multiple programs, like Sushmita talked about that they have specific programs for the engineers who come into their industry. Before just pushing the program to them, if we can share with them the bigger picture, the purpose, the benefits, the rationale, and how it will help them to take them from here to there. Once they come to know what's in it for me, I think life for all of us L&D professionals, the HR and the organization becomes easier. Until and unless they don't understand and they think in their mind that organization is pushing us as a mandate for doing a checkbox, I think we not.
I think
And that's
Caroline.
where
Sorry,
we have
sorry.
to continue. I was just saying that's where we have to continuously not sit down and relax, but we need to think through how do we touch the pulse of the employees. Touching the pulse of a leadership person is extremely difficult and different than touching the persona of an individual contributor. Do we understand them? Do we know what they need from us rather than painting the broad brush? So, those are the questions which I always ask my team to ask themselves before going and approaching for an intervention. Yes, Zubin.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I was just reading a comment from Carol Ann, and she's written, "Get them to buy the why on point, Sarika." So that's what it's all about, right? So you buy the why, and then you are in it. And that is why we are discussing this whole aspect of career and learning trajectories. Why we need to create that link. Why should I learn? Why should I attend this training program? I mean, even if you, the question about force or by choice, it would automatically become by choice if I know that it's going to help me in what I want to achieve. Else, I wouldn't be interested. Only mandate doesn't help, right? So, okay. Uh, so let me see what else I have got. So Amit Saxena, okay, he's got a question. On ROI of a training program. So, Amit, we are going to discuss ROI in general at the end of today. But I think this question is also interesting. While looking into the ROI of a training program, what is the right way? Look for overall ROI of various initiatives or an individual program itself. So it's like an individual learning intervention and the ROI on that. So again, question open to both panelists. If you would like, whoever you would like to take it.
Sushmita, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Please go ahead.
Great. It's very specific, and it becomes relevant in terms of the outcome, the outcome of the training program, and to understand how is that ROI involved. It's more like how you're applying that program, or how you're applying that training or that specific training into the job, or what has what has that program or that intervention helped you to evolve and grow and apply that knowledge or that skill set. So it becomes very important for the manager who's taking care, or even self, if you have got through a course, maybe 3 to 6 months course, suppose some kind of a technical some software course, it becomes very important that where you are able to apply that, because it can happen in our kind of industry. It does happen that one application after a year's time, and because of the different project scope, it changes, and you're not going to apply the same technicality into that project, and then slowly the version, there are so many versions, there are so many amendments happening, so it happens that these applications are no more relevant, or maybe the fundamentals but not the latest version. You're not hands on to use the latest version of that training. So what happens then? Will the employee say that it's become obsolete and I'm not able to generate value any further? So it's not that. What we try to do is we try to again re-look into the programs and say that where we can reinvent and take the program up to the next level depending on the requirement. So that's where we identify the ROI in terms of the value addition, and we see that yes, so much has been invested in terms of not only from the budget point of view but also from the business requirements point of view. So that becomes very essential, and that's how we take a call.
All right, we'll quickly take one last question, since we do not have too much time left. I do see two questions. I'll take one. I'll take Rupa's question. So we took one of Amit's question. So now we'll take Rupa's question. Rupa Shende asks, as organizations are having flatter structures, how do you incentivize learning to career growth in such flatter structures? Sarika, maybe a
So
quick
my point,
yeah.
I will go ahead. So, Rupa, just to talk about the flatter structure, even if organizations have flatter structures, and more when we are now moving to different organization structures, it has become very flexible, very ambiguous kind of structures are getting evolved with the changing times. But my point is, learning remains constant, and it is not that people always look for vertical movement or a vertical career. There are many people who have now, they're looking for lateral movement because that gives them much richer experiences to do something which they have not done for many years. That is one. Second is, people just want to also in the same role do bubble assignments. And what do I mean by bubble assignments? Say, suppose Sarika is there in the L&D function, but I have a passion for numbers, finance, and I really want to deep dive into mergers and acquisition. I go and talk to my mergers and acquisition leader, and I say, do you have a stretched assignment? And I call it as a passion project. And like a summer intern, the way they come and work for us for 2 months, can I go and work for 2 months with them besides my core job? Because that gives me the happiness actually. How do I enhance my happiness index? By different kinds of learning. Like my learning is when I really apply it on the job. If I take the 70-20-10 model, 70% of our learning comes from on the job. 20% is mentoring or coaching, and 10% is actually what L&D team does in terms of intervention. So on the job learning is every day what you learn vertically in your role, what you learn horizontally from the stretched assignments, bubble assignments, or passion projects which you take, and that gives you the holistic learning, irrespective of what the structure or the operating model is all about. Only thing is we need to come with an open mindset which leads to a growth mindset.
All right, thank you so much, Sarika, for that answer. I kind of absolutely connects with what I was thinking about this question, and really, really insightful, really nice. I think this was less of my questions and more of audience questions. I think that's what made the session much more insightful than it would have been. I think I should leave my chair to my attendees because they are way better in asking the questions than me. So,
Round of applause.
before we finish off this particular session, I want to thank Sarika and Sushmita. Thank you so much for taking out your time and answering all these questions. And I'm sure we've got really wonderful answers, insights, sharing of experiences, and we'll definitely stay in touch, connect maybe in the future again to have more such discussions.
Thank you, Zubin. Thank you, Zubin. It was a pleasure.
All the women out here a very happy Women's
I
Day.
wish you the same. Wish you the
Thank you,
same.
Sushmita.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting
Thank you.
Same
Thank
here. Same here. Bye. Take care. Good
you.
night.
you. Bye. Bye.